Hey Stations, Will here with a new video in a series on building out a 3D game using Rust. And this is a tutorial series for noobs because I am a noob to game development at all, and maybe a lot of you are as well. And I'm not interested in using other paid subscriptions. I want to be able to build a game out using Rust and other free open source tools, potentially Blender and some other things. So what I am going to use is this game engine that's being built that has a large number of stars called Amethyst, 4.5k stars, under very active development, a fantastic Discord group that you can join as well. A lot of very helpful people there. So we are going to work together and try to build out a 3D game. So what I'm going to do, where I'm going to start, is with this Amethyst 3D tutorial by Charles here. Now Charles hasn't gotten that far. It's a big undertaking, but he does have GitHub pages for this 3D tutorial, by the end of which, at this point, he's gotten a sphere rendering on the screen. So in this video, what we're going to do is just go over basically getting the basic game window up. Again, this is a tutorial for noobs, so we will be learning together here in this series on 3D game development using Rust. Okay, folks. So this series, we're not gonna start with basic Rust syntax, things of that nature. You can visit some of my other videos on the Rust programming language for that. What I want to show you is, so far, what I've done is essentially set up this folder, this GitHub project called Renfaire. What I'd like to do is build a game that's like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but for Renaissance festivals. That's the general idea. And so that's what I'm going to try to be building out in this series. Okay, and what I've gotten so far is, let's start here with the cargo toml file. So what this is when you follow along in that tutorial, what you do is, to start, create an empty game by doing cargo new. Now you're going to have Rust installed already to do that. So there are other tutorials about how to get Rust, how to get cargo. But once you do, you're able to get start a new project with cargo new. Then in this cargo toml file, what you can do is set the package information, which I have there, and then the dependencies. So this is just some of my package information. And then in dependencies, I was getting some issues. Now, this is one thing to note right off the bat. Well, one, I'm on version 0.13.2 for Amethyst. And for features, I'm on OS X. I do have a Linux box, so there I would put Vulkan. Here I am using Metal, so that's, I believe it's the rendering engine you need to specify. So for OS X, for Mac, it's Metal. For Linux, it's going to be Vulkan. Okay, so one of the first things that you do, and you could skip all of this imports that I have set up here, is to just set up a logger. But you need to do that inside of your function main here. So here is Amethyst, and it's returning a result. And here I do start logger. And now the start logger essentially just will, I have a print line so that I know it's working. And I'm returning OK there. All of this other stuff that's part of the tutorial that I did later on would basically just sorry, I could get rid of it for the moment, and I can do cargo run, which will build the package. This might take a minute for you because it'll have to compile. But and if you, what's great about Rust is that it will tell you, it will give you all of these warnings about what's not being used. And so as you progress in that tutorial, you'll get some of that. In the very beginning, when you start off, you probably won't get any of those warnings, but this takes a minute. And for you, when you first start, it'll have to download all of these packages. But this logger should come up and it'll start giving me information once that compiles. Now, note up top here that there are other ways to do these imports, but for this point in the tutorial, I basically needed to bring in all of these imports from Amethyst, and these imports may differ from the tutorial that you're reading on that GitHub page that I linked, because this is an upgraded version of Amethyst. And so I believe it's some of these renderings I had to change to get to the some of these plugins and renderings to get to the latest version. Okay, so this already has given me a box. Now notice a few things. One, I had a print line down here, the macro print line, very legal and very cool. And so that should have printed after this compiled. Now I'm not seeing where it did that. Here the logger is working, and it's giving me information about what's going on. As I resize this, it is spitting out, logging more information to the module there. You'll notice I have Renfaire up top. That comes from my cargo tummel. I believe, no, hold on. That isn't right. Actually, I didn't save this main.rs, so I'm actually skipping ahead. So let me go back. All I wanted to show you with that initial go was just that that the logger was going to work. And it did here. Very legal and very cool. And then it exited out because there's nothing here to run. One of the first things that you'll do in the tutorial is set up some of the assets directory that we'll use later. Hold on, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, which is approot and assets directory. So nothing there. So these are just paths, and there's nothing for us yet in those assets directory. Then here is the display config, and this is where the title is, Renfaire, that you saw on the top of the screen. Here are the dimensions that we start out with, so we can play around with these and do 100 by 768, fine. So that'll come out, what, really skinny. Okay, so now if we just have our assets directory and our asset and our display, let's compile that. Note that I still have all of those imports up here, and you can bring those in to start with. There's the game data, state data, rendering, window display config, the component system, which is a critical part of game development as I'm starting to understand it, the world, and the camera. And we haven't set up the camera yet. So this actually hasn't displayed the window yet. So where is the window? I believe what we need to do here is we need to set up our game data builder. So we create this variable, give it game data builder, and with the rendering bundle with render to window, we give it a color. So this is the color that is the sort of teal that I had come up with instead of the baby blue. And then I'm not sure what render PBR 3D is. That would be good if you could look that up and let me know in the comments. Then finally, critically, we'll set up a mutable object, which is the game itself. Pass in this assets directory, the game state, and the game data. Now I don't think I went into and then run it. The game state, that is outside of this function, and this is the let's see, the struct. We're implementing a simple state for the struct game state, and we haven't done much with that yet, but we will get to it. So all of this together, and hopefully I didn't go too fast through that. So the imports, a struct for the game state, which we will mutate, the main function, which is the essential piece of any Rust program, some of our setup, the display configuration, then the directories, and then the actual running of the game. I haven't worked out the initialization of the camera yet. That'll come in the next video. But all of this together, when you hit cargo run, will get you to that. Okay, sorry folks, my mic got knocked out there and I needed to reset up. So when I run this cargo run, it's going to give me that tall, should give me that tall and skinny window, and it's not, because we have this game state that we need to undo here. So just to recap, and I will do cargo run again. At the top we have our imports. We needed to change some of those. So some of the main imports, game data builder, state data, game data from Amethyst. The renderer for rendering to the windows. The components, which is critical part of game development, as I am starting to understand it. The world and camera, which we haven't used yet, but we'll use in a video, upcoming video. We have the game state struct and a method on that for simple state, which we really haven't used yet either, but this is on start, so we'll dive into it. The core of any Rust program, which is the main function. We have the logger starting up, assets, approot, and assets directory, configuration of the window, so made it tall and skinny here. I'm going to put this back so that afterward I don't get a tall and skinny window. And then the start of the game with some initialized game data, and then the running of the game itself. So let me know what you think about this. Here's our tall and skinny window. There's some of our information that's being logged. So let me kill that. Let me know what you think about this series. Please like and subscribe. If you want me to do live coding, let me know in the comments below. Some people like to see that. What I need to do is research how to get a camera initialized, and then how to, I believe with Amethyst physics, and Amethyst tiles, get a ground floor upon which we can build our 3D world, our roller coaster tycoon Renaissance Festival mix up here. So until the next video, take care.